For 2,000 years it remained sealed, hidden, forgotten, as if the world itself had agreed to erase it from existence. No footsteps echoed through its halls, no hands disturbed its silence. Whatever lay inside, whatever secret had been buried, was never meant to see the light of day until now. A single discovery changed everything. A door, locked for millennia, finally forced open. What lay beyond wasn't just history, it was something else. Something that defied reason, challenged faith, and raised questions no one was prepared to answer. Could this be a lost piece of the past, or a warning left behind for those who dared to look? One thing is certain: once the truth is revealed, there's no turning back. The mystery of a forgotten place. There are places in this world that hold secrets, deep, ancient, untouched. Some are lost to time, swallowed by the earth, abandoned by history. But this one is different. For 2,000 years it remained sealed, locked away from prying eyes. Why? What was hidden behind those walls? And more importantly, why now? Why, after centuries of silence, has this place suddenly become relevant? It's almost as if something has awakened, something that was never meant to be disturbed. Imagine walking through life believing you understood the rules, only to discover that an entire chapter of truth had been buried beneath the surface. This place, this forgotten relic of time, is more than just an archaeological site. It holds a lesson, a revelation, a key that could unlock a new way of thinking, not just about history, but about life itself. And if you look closely, you'll see that this is not just about the past. This is about you, your potential, your purpose, your connection to something greater. There's a passage in the Bible that says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings to search it out." Proverbs 25:2. What if this discovery isn't just about uncovering old stones and forgotten texts? What if it's about you seeking the truth, the kind of truth that transforms lives? Because, let's be real, truth is power. And power, when understood and applied, can change everything. From your mindset to your financial success, from your spiritual growth to your personal development. When you truly see what's in front of you, doors start to open. But here's the real question. Why was this place locked away? Was it hidden to protect its knowledge, or was something inside being restrained? What if the moment those doors were opened, a force long kept dormant was finally unleashed? And what if this force has the potential to reshape everything we thought we knew? What if it has the power to shift history and even your own destiny? History teaches us that nothing happens by accident. Patterns repeat, clues are left behind, and those who take the time to seek, find. Think about it. Every great transformation in life, whether spiritual, financial, or personal, starts with a single decision. The decision to look deeper, to ask the hard questions, to stop accepting limitations and start seeing beyond the surface. And that's exactly what's happening here. This isn't just about an ancient structure. This is about the unlocking of something bigger, a moment of realization, an opportunity to expand your understanding, your potential, your connection to divine wisdom. But here's what you must understand. Discoveries like this always come with a choice. You can look at it as just another story, a mystery that sparks curiosity but changes nothing. Or you can recognize it for what it truly is, a message, a wake-up call, a reminder that there is more to this world, more to your life than meets the eye. The question is, are you ready to see it? A past lost in time. History is not what it seems. We like to believe that the past is a straight line, a series of documented events leading us to where we are today. But history is selective. It remembers what is convenient and forgets what doesn't fit the narrative. And this place, this long-forgotten structure sealed for 2,000 years, is proof of that. The last ones to walk through its halls knew something. something so powerful that it had to be hidden away, buried beneath layers of time, waiting for the right moment to resurface. The question is, why now? Why has it come back into our awareness at this exact moment in history? Think about it. Every great empire has risen and fallen. Kingdoms have been built, only to crumble into dust. The Babylonians, the Romans, the Egyptians, all of them held secrets, knowledge that has been diluted over centuries. What if what was locked away here was never meant to be lost? What if it was meant to be revealed at the right time, a time like this? And if that's true, then the real question isn't just what was hidden, but why it was hidden in the first place. Could it be that those who came before us understood something that we have forgotten? That true power, whether spiritual, financial, or intellectual, is not given, but discovered. The Bible reminds us, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." Hosea 4:6. Think about that. It doesn't say people are destroyed because of bad luck, poor circumstances, or a lack of opportunity. No, it says they are destroyed because they lack knowledge. And isn't that the reality we see today? People struggling, overwhelmed, lost, not because they lack the ability, but because they were never given the right knowledge. What if the truth that was hidden inside this place is the same truth that could unlock something in your own life? What if buried within this ancient structure is the blueprint, not just for history, but for success, for abundance, for real transformation? Now, let's go deeper. Imagine the last people who walked through those doors before they were sealed. Who were they? What did they know? Did they leave in a hurry, forced to abandon their mission? Or did they seal it themselves, choosing to lock away whatever was inside? One thing is certain, this was not an accident. This was intentional. And when something is hidden with such purpose, there's a reason, a lesson, a warning. Could it be that the ones who closed it knew that what was inside wasn't ready to be revealed? Or worse, that we weren't ready to handle it? Here's something you need to understand. Nothing stays buried forever. The truth always finds a way to surface. And when it does, it challenges everything. It forces us to rethink what we know about the past, about the present, about ourselves. And maybe that's the real reason you're here. Maybe this isn't just about an ancient site. Maybe this is about you, your growth, your potential, your ability to step into a higher level of awareness. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And when that happens, your entire world begins to shift. So here's the question. Are you ready to see what was hidden? Are you ready to uncover not just the mystery within these walls, but the mystery within yourself? Because history isn't just something that happened. It's something that's happening right now. And the deeper you go, the more you begin to realize you were never meant to live an ordinary life. The day everything changed. For 2,000 years, the door remained closed, sealed, silent. No human hand had dared to turn the lock. No eye had glimpsed what lay beyond. And then, one day, it happened. A shift, a decision, a moment that altered everything. Whether by accident or divine appointment, the threshold was crossed. What had been hidden was now exposed, and with it came a flood of questions. Why now? Why, after centuries of silence, had this place been disturbed? And more importantly, what had been awakened? It started like any other discovery. A team of explorers, historians, perhaps even an unsuspecting traveler stumbling upon something extraordinary. But this was different. The moment the seal was broken, the air itself seemed to change. It was as if time had been waiting, holding its breath, anticipating the inevitable. Dust rose, particles that had remained untouched for ages swirling in the light. And then came the first step inside, the first glimpse into a space untouched by modern hands. And that's when they felt it, that undeniable presence, that inexplicable energy pressing in from every direction. The Bible speaks of moments like this. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Luke 8:17. But what if some things were never meant to be uncovered? What if, in our pursuit of knowledge, we awaken forces beyond our understanding? You see, history is filled with stories of men seeking wisdom, wealth, and divine connection, only to realize they were not prepared for what they found. And that's exactly what was happening here. At first, it was just an eerie feeling, a strange sense of displacement, as if stepping into a realm where the laws of time didn't apply. Instruments failed, batteries drained, shadows flickered where no light source existed, and yet, the deeper they went, the more undeniable it became. Something inside this place was alive, not in the way we understand life, but in a way that defied explanation. It was intelligence, awareness, a lingering force that had been waiting, and now it had company. You see, nothing happens by chance. Not in history, not in discovery, and not in your life. Just as those explorers were drawn to this place, you are drawn to this moment, right now, because something inside you is stirring, something inside you is waking up. The same principle that governs divine revelation governs financial success, personal transformation, and your ability to change your reality. The moment you become aware of what was hidden, whether it's a truth from the past or a truth about yourself, you can never go back to ignorance. But here's the catch. Awareness demands action. Just like those who stood before that ancient doorway, you are now standing at the threshold of a revelation. You can choose to turn away, to dismiss it as just another story, or you can step forward. You can engage with what is being revealed to you. And when you do, when you allow yourself to truly see, you begin to realize something profound. The mystery is not just inside that forgotten place. The mystery is inside you. The first impressions, an untouched realm. Stepping through that doorway was like stepping into another world. Time didn't move the way it did outside. The air was thick, heavy with a silence that felt alive. Dust floated in slow motion, settling on stone untouched by human hands for 2,000 years. Every breath carried the weight of history, and with every step, the explorers felt it. They weren't just uncovering a forgotten place. They were stepping into a moment that had been frozen in time. And something about it felt deliberate, almost as if this place had been waiting for them. The walls were lined with markings, symbols that didn't belong to any known civilization. Objects lay scattered, perfectly preserved, as if their owners had left in a hurry, never to return. But what struck them the most was the stillness. Not the stillness of abandonment, but the kind that holds a secret, the kind that watches. There was no dust on certain artifacts, no signs of decay in places where there should have been. It was as if time had paused inside these walls, shielding everything from the natural process of erosion. But why? The Bible says, "For 1,000 years in your sight are but as yesterday when it is past." Psalm 94. What if time had operated differently here? What if something had preserved this place, not just physically, but spiritually? You see, some places hold energy. They store the thoughts, the intentions, the actions of those who walked them before. And when you step into such a place, you don't just see history, you feel it. The same way you can walk into a room and sense tension without a word being spoken, these explorers felt something unspoken here, something that had been waiting to be found. Then came the first disturbance, a whisper, not in words but in sensation, a flicker in the air, a shift in pressure, a moment where reality itself seemed to waver. Cameras malfunctioned, batteries drained. Some claimed they heard something, a sound just at the edge of perception. And then a flash, a sudden, unexplainable burst of light, gone as quickly as it appeared. Coincidence? Equipment failure? Or something else? You see, when you break a seal that was never meant to be broken, you don't just uncover history, you awaken it. This is the part where most people would turn back. Fear whispers in the mind, "You shouldn't be here, you weren't meant to see this." But that's the difference between those who observe and those who seek. Those who walk away never find the truth. But those who step forward, who push past the fear, the doubt, the hesitation, they are the ones who change the course of history. And isn't that true in life? How often do we stand at the edge of something great only to let fear hold us back? How many doors have remained closed, not because they were locked, but because we refused to open them? So now, the real question, what had they just stepped into? Was this place a vault of forgotten wisdom, a chamber designed to protect something sacred? Or was it a prison? Had something been locked away here, not to be preserved, but to be contained? Because the moment those doors were opened, one thing became clear: whatever had been resting here was no longer sleeping. Symbols and marks from another era. The deeper they ventured, the more the walls spoke. Not in sound, but in symbols, inscriptions, carvings that pulsed with meaning. Some were instantly recognizable, universal shapes, celestial patterns. But others defied explanation. They weren't random, they weren't decorative. They had a purpose, a message. But the message wasn't for just anyone. It was for those who knew how to see. Those who understood that knowledge is never simply given, it is earned. One of the explorers ran a hand over an engraving, smooth, untouched by time. It wasn't erosion-resistant stone that preserved it. Something else had protected these symbols. The markings seemed ancient, yet strangely unweathered, like they had been carved yesterday. And then it clicked. They weren't just looking at history. They were looking at a code, a system of thought, hidden in plain sight, just like the greatest truths of life. Think about it. How often do we pass by wisdom without recognizing it? The keys to wealth, success, divine connection, they're not locked away. They're written all around us, but only the aware can see them. The Bible speaks of this. Call to me, and I will answer you, and will tell you great and hidden things that you have not known. Jeremiah 33:3. Truth is always available, but not to those who rush past it. You must seek it, you must be ready for it, and standing in this ancient chamber, surrounded by symbols from a forgotten time, that reality had never been clearer. These markings weren't just historical records, they were an invitation, a test, a challenge. Would they be understood or ignored? One symbol stood out, a perfect geometric pattern, carved with precision that modern tools could barely replicate. And here's where it got strange. The pattern matched designs found in civilizations that should have had no contact with each other. The same shape that appeared in ancient Mesopotamia, in early Egyptian carvings, in forgotten South American ruins. Coincidence or evidence of something greater? What if knowledge, real, transformational knowledge, has always existed, but has been scattered, hidden, waiting to be pieced together by those who dare to search? What if these symbols weren't just remnants of an old world, but blueprints for something bigger? A map, not to a place, but to an understanding. Think about it. Every great discovery, every massive breakthrough in science, business, or spirituality, it all starts with recognizing patterns. Those who see the patterns first, they are the ones who unlock wealth, success, influence. They are the ones who change the world. So here's the real question. Were these symbols a gift or a warning? Had they stumbled upon something meant to elevate them, to awaken them? Or was this knowledge buried for a reason? Because once you see the truth, once you really see it, there's no turning back. And standing in that chamber, eyes wide, breath caught, they all knew the same thing. This discovery was about to change everything. A discovery that defies history. Some discoveries confirm what we already know. Others force us to rethink everything. This was the latter. The deeper they went, the more they realized this place wasn't just old. It was impossible. The architecture, the materials, the precision, none of it belonged to the time period it was supposedly from. The walls bore inscriptions in languages that should never have coexisted. Artifacts lay scattered that predated known civilizations. And in the center of it all, something so out of place it sent shivers through the group. A text, a record, Words that should not have existed in that era. Think about what that means. If history is a straight line progressing in logical steps, then this place, it shattered that illusion. It suggested a past far more advanced than we've been taught. A past where knowledge, technology, even spiritual wisdom operated on a completely different level. But if that's true, why was it buried? Why was it hidden for 2,000 years? Was it to protect the knowledge? Or was it to protect us from the knowledge? There's a verse in Ecclesiastes that says, "There is nothing new under the sun." Ecclesiastes 1:9. What if that's not just poetic wisdom? What if it's literal? What if we aren't the first to reach for this level of understanding? What if the people who built this place had already unlocked the secrets we are only beginning to grasp? The principles of wealth, of energy, of divine connection, because let's be clear, everything operates on laws. The same way gravity governs motion, there are laws of success, of manifestation, of faith. And those who understand them, they control reality itself. But there was something else, a presence, a force woven into the air, lingering in the stone. It wasn't malevolent, it wasn't evil, but it wasn't passive either. It felt like awareness, like the walls themselves were watching, waiting. And as they studied the inscriptions, a new realization settled in. This place wasn't just meant to be found, it was meant to be understood, not by everyone, but by those ready to receive its truth. The same way financial wisdom doesn't just fall into your lap. You have to seek it, align with it, apply it. This knowledge was waiting for the right minds, the right hands. And yet, something felt off. Something was missing. The records hinted at a deeper secret, something beneath the surface, a hidden chamber, a concealed artifact, or was the real secret not physical at all? Maybe the greatest discoveries aren't just found in ancient ruins, they are found within us. Maybe this entire mystery was never just about history. Maybe it was about awakening, about seeing the world and ourselves in a way we never have before. So now comes the choice, because discoveries like this, they demand action. The past isn't just something to study, it's something to learn from, to apply, to use as a foundation for what comes next. And if everything we've been taught about history, about success, about human potential has been incomplete, then what else is waiting to be uncovered? What else has been hidden in plain sight? Because make no mistake, this discovery was just the beginning. Strange events and unexplainable phenomena. At first it was subtle, a flicker of light that shouldn't have been there. The air feeling denser, heavier, like a presence lingering just out of sight. The group dismissed it as imagination, the mind playing tricks in a place untouched for centuries. But then the anomalies became impossible to ignore. Batteries drained instantly, equipment malfunctioned without reason, shadows shifted where no one was standing. And then the voices, whispers, sounds that had no source. It was as if the very walls of the chamber had come alive, responding to the intrusion. This wasn't just a historical site anymore. It was something else, something active. Some of the team backed away, unsettled. Others pressed forward, curiosity outweighing fear. And isn't that always the case? Some people retreat when the unknown presents itself, but the ones who push through, they are the ones who uncover the truth. The ones who gain the insight, the understanding, the wealth of wisdom that others never reach. Because the greatest breakthroughs, they come to those who refuse to turn back. The Bible says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." 2 Timothy 1:7. But standing in that chamber, surrounded by something they couldn't explain, fear was creeping in. Rational minds fought for control. Science demanded an answer. But what if some things can't be measured? What if this was something beyond physics, beyond technology, something spiritual? Because here's the truth. Not everything is meant to be understood in the way we expect. Some things must be felt, experienced. Then, the event that changed everything. a deep vibration, low, like a distant hum reverberating through the stone. The ground didn't shake, but they felt it. Their bones, their skin, their minds, something inside them vibrated in response. Was it a frequency, a signal, or was it an intelligence recognizing their presence, a force waking up after 2,000 years? The air was charged with something unseen, and then darkness. Every light went out, every device shut down, just for a moment, just long enough for the realization to sink in. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't a random occurrence. This was intentional. But intentional by whom, or by what? Was this the warning they had feared? Had they unlocked something that should have remained sealed? Or was this an invitation, a call to step beyond the limits of what they knew? Because here's something most people never understand. Reality shifts when awareness expands. The moment you see beyond the illusion, you can never unsee it. The moment you unlock knowledge, you cannot go back to ignorance. So what now? Fear or faith? A step back or a step forward? Because the moment had arrived. Whatever had been sleeping was now awake. And for those who dared to stand in its presence, one truth became clear. This was not just a discovery, this was a test. The connection to ancient accounts. The deeper they dug into the mystery, the clearer it became. This place had been spoken of before. Not in history books, not in academic circles, but in ancient writings, whispered through generations, passed down in cryptic verses and forgotten scriptures. This wasn't just some abandoned structure. This wasn't just another archaeological anomaly. This place had been foretold. Legends from different cultures, written centuries apart, all pointed to a hidden location, a place of power, of knowledge, of something beyond human comprehension. In one scroll, they found a passage eerily familiar, a text that spoke of a sealed chamber, a forbidden threshold, a place that must not be disturbed, for within it lay something that mankind was not yet prepared to face. The same warnings echoed through different civilizations, the Mayans, the Egyptians, the lost tribes of Mesopotamia. How? How did they all know about a place that had been locked away for 2,000 years? Coincidence? Or was this the ultimate proof that knowledge, real, transformative knowledge, transcends time, waiting only for those who are ready to receive it? The Bible speaks of this. Have you not heard? Long ago I ordained it. In days of old I planned it. Now I have brought it to pass. Isaiah 37:26. Truth is never random. Revelation is never accidental. It comes in seasons, at the right time, to the right people. So the real question isn't why now. The real question is who is paying attention. Because knowledge, whether spiritual, financial, or intellectual, only serves those who are awake enough to see it. And standing in that chamber, surrounded by symbols and scriptures long thought to be myth, they realized this was no accident. But here's where it gets even stranger. As they pieced together the ancient texts, a pattern emerged. The records didn't just describe the past, they predicted the future. The same way a blueprint reveals the structure of something before it is built, these writings seem to lay out events that had yet to unfold. The discoveries, the disruptions, the moment when mankind would be forced to confront what had been buried. Could it be that this moment, this very discovery, had already been written long before it happened? And what if the same principle applies to your life? What if the roadmap to financial freedom, to success, to a deeper connection with divine truth is already written, waiting for you to find it? Think about it. Every wealthy individual, every visionary, every person who has ever broken through barriers had to recognize a truth that most people ignored. The difference isn't luck. The difference is awareness, the ability to see the signs, to connect the dots before others do. And now, standing at the crossroads of history and destiny, they had a choice. Would they continue? Would they follow the breadcrumbs left behind by those who came before? Or would they turn back, fearing what they were never supposed to know? Because now, one truth was undeniable. This discovery was never just about the past. It was about the future, and the future had already begun. Science against the unknown. They brought in the experts, historians, linguists, scientists armed with cutting-edge technology. The mission was clear. Explain the unexplainable. Data was collected, measurements were taken. Yet, with every scan, every test, the mystery deepened. The structure defied logic. The materials were far older than they should have been, yet preserved beyond natural possibility. The symbols, a fusion of languages that had never coexisted, suggested knowledge beyond the timeline of recorded history. It was as if this place wasn't just ancient, it was impossible. The scientific method demands proof, repetition, measurable results. But what happens when the data refuses to conform, when technology itself fails to register what is standing right in front of you? That's what happened here. Equipment shut down for no reason. Readings fluctuated wildly, only to stabilize as soon as they stepped away from the chamber. More than once, instruments picked up energy signatures, frequencies beyond the known electromagnetic spectrum. Patterns appeared, but no one could explain them. It was as if the very fabric of reality inside that space operated under different rules. The Bible speaks of mysteries beyond human understanding. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. Isaiah 55:8. And isn't that exactly what was happening here? Science was colliding with something it couldn't quantify. Something beyond the limits of equations and data sets, something alive, aware, and responding. The air in that chamber wasn't just air. It carried weight, presence, intention. Those who stepped inside felt it. They weren't just observing history. They were stepping into something far greater. One of the researchers, a physicist grounded in logic and reason, was the first to admit it. This doesn't make sense. That's when you know you're standing at the edge of something truly transformative. When the experts, those trained to define reality, are forced to admit reality is bigger than they imagined. And isn't that how breakthroughs always happen? Whether in history, in business, in faith, the greatest discoveries are made by those willing to question the limits of what they've been taught. The moment you realize reality is more flexible than you believed, that's when the doors to new possibilities fly open. And here's where it gets even more unsettling. The more they studied, the more they realized this place responded to them. The inscriptions, the strange energy fields, even the shifts in temperature, none of it was random. Patterns emerged, reactions were recorded. It was as if the chamber itself was aware of their presence. But was it revealing information or withholding it? Was this place a vault of forgotten knowledge, or was it a test, one that determined who was ready to receive what it had to offer? That's the moment they knew. Science had reached its limit. The next step wasn't in the realm of machines or theories. It was in perception, in opening the mind to truths that can't be measured, only understood. Because at some point, whether in history, in personal growth, or in wealth creation, you must make the leap. You must be willing to step beyond what you know and embrace what is waiting to be revealed. And standing in that chamber, surrounded by a mystery that refused to be solved, one thing became clear. This was no ordinary discovery. This was a door, and once opened, there would be no turning back. The most terrifying moment. Until now, everything had been speculation, whispers of energy shifts, theories of time anomalies. But speculation turned to reality in a single moment, the moment they witnessed the impossible. It happened fast, too fast to process. 1 second, everything was still. The next, the chamber responded. A vibration deep and low, not heard but felt, resonating in their bones, their minds, their very consciousness. Something was shifting, something was waking up. Then the temperature dropped, not gradually, instantly. Breath turned to mist, a pressure filled the air thick and undeniable, and then movement, not from the team, not from the equipment, from the walls. The symbols, once mere engravings, began to glow, faint at first, then pulsing, as if drawing energy from the very space itself. Every rational explanation collapsed in that instant. This wasn't just an ancient structure, it was alive. Panic set in. Some instinctively backed away, their minds screaming to leave now. But others, those who understood that breakthroughs demand courage, stood their ground. They knew they were witnessing something monumental. And isn't that the truth of all great discoveries? Whether in history, in business, in personal transformation, the moment things get uncomfortable is the moment most people walk away. But those who stay, those who push through the fear, they are the ones who get the reward. The Bible warns us about such moments. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Proverbs 9:10. Fear isn't meant to stop you, it's meant to wake you up. It's a sign that you are standing on the edge of something powerful, something life-changing. And that's exactly what was happening here. The group wasn't in danger. They were being tested. Could they handle the truth? Could they process the weight of what had just been revealed? Or would they do what so many had done before, turn away, pretending it never happened? Then, silence. The glowing symbols faded. The pressure lifted. The air returned to normal. It was as if the chamber had assessed them, judged them, but had they passed the test, or had they simply been warned? No one spoke at first. Because what do you say when you've just witnessed something that should be impossible? How do you explain the unexplainable? The only thing they knew for certain was this. This was no longer just a discovery. This was an event, a moment in time that would change everything. And that's the thing about moments like this. They mark you. They divide time into before and after. They shift reality in ways you can't reverse, and as they stood there trying to make sense of what had just happened, they realized something profound. The real mystery wasn't the chamber. It wasn't the glowing symbols or the energy shifts. The real mystery was what this meant for them, for their understanding of history, for their understanding of the world, for the very nature of reality itself. Theories that challenge reality. The human mind craves explanation. It wants to categorize, label, define. But how do you define the undefinable? How do you explain what should not exist? As the group tried to process what they had just witnessed, the theories began to take shape. Some turned to science, perhaps an undiscovered natural phenomenon, an anomaly in the Earth's electromagnetic field. Others whispered of lost civilizations, of knowledge buried for centuries, waiting for the right moment to resurface. And then there were those who dared to ask the hardest question of all: what if this wasn't meant to be found? Because here's the truth: some knowledge changes everything. Some truths don't just inform, they transform. And throughout history, those who have uncovered these truths have faced two options: share them or conceal them. Think about it. The greatest breakthroughs, the most profound discoveries, how many of them were hidden from the world? How many were buried because those in power knew that once the truth was revealed, control would be lost? The chamber, the symbols, the inexplicable energy. It was all pointing to one undeniable fact. This wasn't just a place, it was a secret. The Bible echoes this very idea. It is the glory of God to conceal a matter. To search out a matter is the glory of kings. Proverbs 25:2. There are hidden truths, but only those who seek, who persist, who refuse to accept limitations, find them. And isn't that the case with everything in life? Whether it's financial freedom, personal growth, or spiritual enlightenment, the answers are not given, they are discovered. And the difference between those who live an extraordinary life and those who stay stuck: awareness, the ability to see what others overlook. But what if this discovery wasn't just about knowledge? What if it was about power? The patterns, the inscriptions, the way the chamber responded, it all suggested something far greater than anyone had anticipated. Some believed it was a lost technology, a force that ancient civilizations had understood, but modern science had long since forgotten. Others feared it was something even bigger, a doorway, not a physical portal, but a gateway of understanding, one that once stepped through could never be undone. And that's the terrifying part of awareness. Once you see, you can never unsee. Once you know the truth, you can never go back to ignorance. This discovery had already changed them, whether they liked it or not. The moment the chamber was opened, the moment those symbols came to life, reality shifted. And now they had a choice. Would they embrace it, or would they pretend it never happened, like so many before them? Because make no mistake, if something had been hidden for 2,000 years, there was a reason. And if it was now revealing itself, then the world was about to change. The real question is, who was ready for that change? Some mysteries beg to be uncovered. Others, they exist to test those who dare to look. And standing in that chamber, staring at the undeniable evidence before them, one thing became clear. This was not the end of the discovery, it was only the beginning. What was found at the heart of the mystery? Every step deeper into the chamber carried the weight of 2,000 years of silence. The air was thick, charged with something unseen but undeniably present. And then they found it. At the very core of the structure, hidden beyond layers of deception, beyond the inscriptions, beyond the walls that had stood untouched for centuries, there it was, an object, a portal, a message, something so profound that for a moment time itself seemed to hesitate, as if even reality needed to process what had just been uncovered. This was not an ordinary artifact. It wasn't simply ancient, it was timeless. Made from a material no one could immediately identify, its surface shimmered, not like metal, not like stone, but something in between. The inscriptions surrounding it were different from the ones before, more precise, more deliberate. This wasn't just history, this was intention. This was left behind for a purpose, waiting for the right moment, the right people, the right minds to understand what it meant. And that's the thing about discovery. The greatest secrets are never just left lying in the open. They are hidden in plain sight, but only for those who are ready to see. The Bible says, "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you." Matthew 7:7. But notice something, it doesn't say the answers will come to those who sit and wait. It says you must seek, you must knock. You must go beyond the surface, beyond the illusion of limitation, beyond the conditioning that tells you the world is as it seems. So what was this? Was it a forgotten relic? A device? A key to something far greater than anyone had imagined? The truth is, it didn't matter, not yet, because the real discovery wasn't just what they found. It was the realization that everything they thought they knew was incomplete. That history, knowledge, even the very structure of reality was not what they had been told. And isn't that the case in all areas of life? The moment you wake up to what is really possible, you realize you have been living in a version of the world that was designed to keep you unaware. Some of the team wanted to document it, to analyze it, to bring it out into the world. Others hesitated. Should it even be revealed? Had they uncovered something meant to be known, or had they trespassed into knowledge that had been hidden for a reason? What if this wasn't just a discovery, but a test? Because one thing was clear, this was not just an object, this was a message, and the moment it was found, everything changed. And now, the question that matters most: what happens next? Because some discoveries can be studied, analyzed, shared. Others change the course of history. And this was one of them. The consequences of the discovery. Some discoveries expand our understanding, others shatter it, and once something is seen, it cannot be unseen. That's what they were facing now. This wasn't just about uncovering an ancient artifact. This was about rewriting reality itself, every assumption they had carried about history, about time, about the way the world worked. It was all now in question. The walls of certainty had cracked, and on the other side lay something far bigger than they had ever imagined. The discovery had power. That much was undeniable. But power is never neutral. It either builds or destroys. And that's the question they now faced. Would this knowledge be used to uplift or to control? The Bible warns us, to whom much is given, much will be required. Luke 12:48. Responsibility always follows revelation. You don't get to encounter something of this magnitude and walk away unchanged. You must choose. Would they share what they had found, or would they keep it hidden, just as it had been for 2,000 years? And that's the same choice we all face. Every great discovery comes with a decision. Do you take action, or do you hesitate? Do you use what you've learned to elevate your life, your finances, your faith, your purpose? Or do you shrink back into the illusion of limitation? Most people never cross that threshold. They get close to the edge of something great, something transformative, and they turn back. Why? Because uncertainty is uncomfortable, because change is frightening. But the truth? Everything you want is on the other side of that fear. But here's where things got even more complicated. The moment they returned from the site, they weren't the only ones who knew about it anymore. Word had spread, whispers in academic circles, interest from institutions, and then forces beyond the scientific community began to take notice. Governments, private organizations, people with influence, people who understood the weight of what had been found and the power of keeping it out of public hands. Some knowledge is too valuable to be left unguarded, and some truths, they threaten the very foundations of the world as we know it. So now, the battle wasn't just against time or mystery, it was against control. Because once something of this magnitude is discovered, there will always be those who want to own it, contain it, profit from it. And isn't that the way the world works? The greatest secrets, the real formulas for wealth, for power, for transformation, are never given freely. They are hoarded, protected, locked behind systems designed to keep most people unaware. But those who seek, those who persist, they always find a way through. And so, the ultimate question remained. Would this discovery be buried once again? Would history repeat itself, sealing away the truth for another 2,000 years? Or had the world finally reached the point where it was ready, truly ready, to know? Because there are moments in history that change everything. And this was one of them. Should we have opened it? Some doors are locked for a reason. Some mysteries are buried, not because they were lost, but because they were meant to stay hidden. And now, standing at the crossroads of discovery and consequence, the question loomed over them like a shadow. Had they made a mistake? Had they awakened something that was never meant to be disturbed? Because once you break a seal, once you open a door, you can never go back. And they all knew it. Doubt began to creep in. At first, the discovery had been exhilarating, proof of something greater than history had ever recorded. But now, it felt different. The strange phenomena, the energy shifts, the sudden interest from powerful organizations, it all pointed to something more. This wasn't just an academic breakthrough, this was a reckoning. The Bible warns of moments like these. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end, it leads to destruction. Proverbs 14:12. Had they followed excitement instead of wisdom? Had they stepped into something beyond human comprehension? And that's the thing about awareness. It comes with responsibility. Once you see the truth, you must decide what to do with it. Some knowledge illuminates, other knowledge consumes. And isn't that the same in every area of life? Whether it's wealth, success, or spiritual enlightenment, the moment you grasp the truth, you are no longer the same. You can't unlearn it. You can't pretend you don't know. You must act. And now the weight of that action was pressing down on them, heavier than any stone, heavier than the time itself that had guarded this place for 2,000 years. So now, the final decision. Do they reveal what they found, or do they seal it away, just as those before them had done? Fear whispered that some things should remain a mystery. But another voice, the one that calls every great thinker, every true seeker, urged them forward. Because isn't that the essence of progress? To push beyond fear, to expand what is possible. The difference between those who change the world and those who are forgotten by it is simple. One group is willing to take the risk. But here's the deeper question. What if they weren't the first ones to ask this? What if 2,000 years ago, another group stood at this exact threshold, faced with this exact choice? And what if they chose to close the door? What if they weren't sealing something in, but sealing the rest of us out? What if this knowledge was never meant to be hidden, but only given to those with the courage to seek it? What if this moment, right now, was the reason it had been waiting all along? Because one thing was certain. They could not unmake the discovery. The question wasn't whether they had done the right thing. The question was, what would they do next? Because history had just been rewritten, and now the world would never be the same. The final revelation, the truth that cannot be ignored. The weight of the moment settled over them like a thick, suffocating fog. They had come looking for answers, expecting history, expecting relics of the past. But what they found was something else entirely. This wasn't just about time, about forgotten civilizations. This was about something bigger, something alive. The walls, the symbols, the energy, it all pulsed with a knowing, an intelligence that was beyond anything they could quantify. And that's when they realized this place had never been abandoned. Think about that. 2,000 years. A span of time so vast that entire empires had risen and fallen within it. And yet, the moment this door was opened, everything was as intact as if it had been waiting. Because that's the thing about truth. It doesn't decay. It doesn't fade. It waits. It waits for those who are ready to receive it. The Bible echoes this very principle. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. John 8:32. But here's what most people miss. Truth isn't given freely. It is revealed to those who seek it. And now, the truth was in front of them. It was undeniable. The symbols, now understood as more than just language, more than just messages, were instructions, a system, a blueprint left behind for those with the eyes to see. But why? Why hide something like this? Why lock it away for so long? The more they studied, the more the answer became clear. This knowledge was dangerous to those who would misuse it. Because some knowledge liberates, and some knowledge destroys those who are not ready to handle it. So now the final realization settled in. This wasn't just a lost chamber. This wasn't just an archaeological wonder. This was a threshold, a dividing line between what had been and what was now possible. And isn't that the very essence of discovery? The moment when the impossible becomes possible, when a door that had been locked for centuries suddenly stands wide open. But here's the real secret. This doesn't just apply to lost knowledge. It applies to everything in life. You see, there are doors in front of you right now. Financial doors, spiritual doors, mental doors. The question is, are you going to open them? Or will you walk away pretending they were never there? Because that's the difference between those who change their reality and those who remain stuck in it. The ones who step through. They are the ones who shape the future. The ones who hesitate. They are the ones who remain bound to the past. And now the explorers faced the same choice. Would they walk away? Or would they take the knowledge and do something with it? Because this discovery, it wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. And now the responsibility was theirs. Would they embrace it, or would they bury it once more? The truth had been found. But only one question remained. What would they do with it? Every great discovery comes with a cost. It shakes the foundation of what we believe, challenges what we thought was absolute, and forces us to see beyond the limits we once accepted. This was no different. What they found wasn't just an ancient site, it was a revelation, a reminder that history is not fixed, that truth is not static, and that those who seek will always find what the rest of the world is too afraid to see. The question is, what will they do with it? Because that's the thing about knowledge. It demands action. The greatest minds, the wealthiest individuals, the most spiritually connected people in history, they all have one thing in common. They applied what they learned. They didn't turn away. They didn't bury the truth in fear or hesitation. They used it. And now, the responsibility wasn't just on the explorers, it's on all of us. Because this is more than a discovery. This is a test. The Bible reminds us, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." Hosea 4:6. Not for lack of opportunity, not for lack of potential, but for lack of understanding. And isn't that the reality we live in? Most people will hear this story, feel the weight of its mystery, and then move on. But some, a rare few, will hear it and recognize something deeper. They will see the pattern, they will connect the dots, they will understand that knowledge, once revealed, is a tool. And those who know how to use it, they shape the world. But what about you? Will you be one of the many who dismiss the truth when it stares you in the face? Or will you be among the few who recognize that this is a moment of awakening? Because discovery isn't just about uncovering the past, it's about unlocking the future. And if this truth had been hidden for so long, only to emerge now, what else is waiting to be found? What else is just beyond the edge of your awareness, waiting for you to open your eyes? This isn't just about an ancient chamber. This is about you, about your potential, about the unseen forces that shape your reality every single day. Because the truth, life itself, is a hidden treasure. And those who seek, those who dare to step beyond the ordinary, are the ones who find it. So now, the final question. Are you ready to see what's been hidden in plain sight all along? If this story resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this knowledge. Leave a comment below. What do you believe was truly hidden in that chamber? And if you want to go deeper, if you're ready to see more truths that have been concealed for far too long, then stay with us. Because this journey, it's only just begun.